G'day kids, it's me. Today we're going to learn how to make spikes using Blockbench for Minecraft. Some of you have probably already figured this out. It is not super difficult. For those of you who haven't, it's basically just math, so don't feel bad about it. So this is going to take at minimum 5 cubes, maybe a couple more. We'll go over how to do different sizes and shapes. So I'm going to start with a basic cube. This is just a guide cube. You don't even have to keep it at the end. It's just so you can kind of orient your other blocks in space. Doesn't matter how big it is, but for this one I'm going with 3 by 3 just so you can really see what I'm doing. This end here is going to be the tip of the spike, and we're going to build the rest of the spike around that. So once you have your initial block, you can either make a new block or you can duplicate your old one. I usually duplicate the old one just because it is a little bit easier for me. Put your pivot in the center of the block. That's usually pretty important when you're moving things around. And then you're going to rotate it in 2 directions. Doesn't matter which 2, as long as they're the edges of the spike are going to be rotated along. And then you're going to snap it into place to the guide block. So you can kind of see it starting to form there. Duplicate that and change one of the orientations. Again, doesn't matter which one because you're going to be doing this 4 times for the 4 edges of your spike. The snap tool, if you don't already know how to use it, Blockbench has tutorials on doing that. It is very, very useful for making smooth shapes. So that's what I'm using to snap the edges of my new blocks to the edges of my old blocks. So now you have this. Depending whatever you're attaching the spike to looks like, you might be done. Also, obviously, the larger you make these angles here, the blunter your spike is going to be. If you make them very narrow, it's going to look very sharp. So if you're attaching your spike like this, it's done, congratulations. But if you want it to be a little bit longer, you will notice that there are gaps here between these 2 blocks where they don't meet up. So to get rid of those, you're going to add 4 more blocks. And instead of being rotated in 2 directions, these new blocks are only going to be rotated in 1 direction, so that they did something wrong there, so that they fill in the gaps between your original 4 angles. So you do that 4 times. And again, snap them to the corners of your guide block because that's what's helping you orient all of these blocks and keep them all lined up nicely. If you were to make this even longer, you might have to add some extra filler blocks in between as well. I'm sure you can figure that out on your own, so I'm not going to demonstrate that for you. But that is what your spike will look like. Now, a personal preference, you can either delete this block or leave it here. If you leave it here, you'll have a nice flat tip. If you delete it, you'll have a bit of an indent. I tend to delete them when I think of it, just because having a few fewer blocks makes it a little bit easier once you get to the texturing stage, but it's really up to you. If you have any questions, let me know. Obviously, these angles don't have to all be the same. You could angle the top one up more for a kind of a downward spike, which might work nicely on a claw or a toe. Up to you. Depending how these blocks meet up, you could probably even extend this so you have to do a little less filling here. Just play around with it. Don't delete the guide block until you're done, because that's what you're kind of snapping all these blocks to. And I'm sure you guys will find plenty of uses for this. If you have any questions, let me know, and have a great day.